Hello YouTube and welcome to What the Math. Happy Pi Day to you and welcome to chapter 13 of IB Math Studies. In today's chapter we're going to be continuing the equations of the line, and we're going to be taking a look at how to graph them as well and looking more at the slopes in relation to graphing the lines. So let's start with the first part, which is the equation of the line, and that is something that you most likely have seen before. It's actually written differently depending on the country you're from, but this is how we write it. Y equals mx plus b. In certain countries, this actually is a different letter, and so is this, but in North America, this is how it's usually written, where m here is the slope or the gradient. So this is the slope or the gradient with positive slope, usually, or not usually, but always going up like this, and negative slope always going down like this. So you can tell right away that this line right here is going to be a negative slope. And B is something called y-intercept. Y-intercept, and that's essentially where the line intersects the y-axis. So this right here is B. And just looking at this line, we can tell right away what its function is going to be by basically finding both the slope and the y-intercepts. And let's start with finding the slope of this line. So there's two ways of doing this. One is by using the slope formula, basically taking, let's just say this point here is going to be x1, y1, and this point here is x2, y2, and basically you would substitute the values here, and what you would get is, so x1, y1 in this case is going to be, what is this point? This point is 0, 2. And x2, y2 in this case is going to be, this is 3, 0. So basically you would substitute these values where y2 is 0, y1 is 2, x2 is 3, and x1 is 0. And this would give you the slope of minus 2 over 3. So that's one way of doing this. And the other way is just to remember that slopes are essentially rise over run, or y-axis over x-axis, delta y-axis over delta x. So here our rise or our y-axis is minus 2. It actually says it right here, minus 2. And our x-axis is of course 3. So another way of doing this is just counting the squares. You'll get minus 2 over 3, which is exactly what we found. So that's m. So for this line, y equals to minus 2 over 3x. Now plus b, this is where we have to look at the line again and find the y-intercept. And we already established that it's actually right here, and the value for y-intercept is 2. So that means that it's just plus 2. And this is it. This is actually the formula for this particular line. Y equals minus 2/3 x plus 2. Had this line been passing this way, let's just do a really quick example this way, where your y-intercept is minus 2, and the slope, oh, this is not actually visible, this is minus 2, and the slope is actually plus 2/3 x, you would get a different formula. The formula for this line would be, of course, y equals 2/3 x, positive 2/3 x, because now it's positive, plus minus 2. In this case, it's plus minus 2, because this is a minus 2 intercept. So oh, this is x. Oops, this is x. So the final formula would actually look like this, minus 2. So these two lines look quite different, but the formula looks pretty similar. Now let's do the opposite. Let's actually try to graph the line using a formula. So we're going to erase this and try to graph the line. And for this part, we're going to be doing two questions. One will be easier from page 400. This is an example 23. And one will be actual one of the more difficult problems. So here it's asking us to graph the equation of y equals 5 over 2x minus 2. First step, we don't actually have the x's yet, so let's just draw those first. Very roughly, not too worried about the accuracy here because this is just a hand-drawn equation. So first step number one is always the same. Step number one is always find the y-intercept first. So one is find y-intercept. And in our case, it is right here. It's not just 2, it's actually minus 2. You have to include the sign as well, so minus 2. So the y-intercept is going to be somewhere around here. This is minus 2. Step number 2 is figure out what the slope is. Find the slope. And the slope, of course, is in front of x, and in this case, it's 5 over 2. So this is a fraction, so you need to figure out how you're going to draw this. So if it's a fraction, what is 5 over 2? 5 over 2, you can also rewrite this as rise over run. And in this case, it's delta y over delta x. So let's think about this for a second. It means that for every 5 y's, for every 5 values of y, it's going to move 2 values of x. For every 5 values of y, every 2 values of x. So let's just do that. And we know it's a positive, so it's actually going to be this way. So let's do this simply this way. So for every 2 values of x, we're going to move 5 values of y. For every 5 values of y, and let's just put a point right here and connect these 2 points now. So basically, this right here is a roughly drawn line for this equation. So basically, here the slope was found using the whole idea of rise over run. You can also do this with the equation, of course, but it's a little bit easier just to understand that what a slope is, it's essentially rise over run, delta y over delta x. And you just have to make sure that you draw this in the correct direction, because if this was a negative, or just imagine that this was a negative 5 over 2, in that case it would actually be going this way, 5 over 2 negatively. So here the step number 3 was connect 2 dots, connect 2 points to draw the line. Now, let's do this slightly more difficult question. Let's actually try one of the problems from the book. And this is problem 2 from page 401. We're going to be doing, let's do this one, this last one, because it looks pretty more, a little bit more challenging. Not pretty hard, but a little bit more challenging. And what it says is 3x plus 4y minus 15. Now, you need to graph this. How do we graph this? Well, here we're going to need to add another step, step 0. Step 0, and that is convert to y equals mx plus b. So we need to convert this to this format first. So let's do it step by step. Step 0, 3x plus 4y equals minus 15. So how do we rewrite this? Let's rearrange the terms. Put the x on the other side first. Put the x here. And what you'll get is 4y equals to minus 15 plus 3x. You can actually change the order now because it's plus, so the signs will not change. And also we can at the same time divide this whole thing by 4 because we want to get rid of this 4. So let's actually do a double step. Hopefully it's not going to confuse you, but basically y equals, we're going to change the order here, 3x minus 15. And then all of this is going to be divided by 4. Now, it's almost there. We almost have the necessary format. We just need to rewrite this as y equals 3/4 x. So each term will come individually. Minus 15/4. So this, we can keep this in this format, or you can actually rewrite this as, I believe 15/4 is actually 3 3/4. This is... yeah, this is 3 3/4. All right, so this is our equation. So this step 0 is done. Step 1, find y-intercept. It is right here. This is our y-intercept. So minus 3 3/4 will be somewhere approximately here. And second step, find the slope. Slope is, of course, 3/4. So for every 3 y's, we're going to be moving 4 x's, and this is a positive slope. So for every 3 y's, 1, 2, 3, approximately somewhere over here, we're going to be moving 4 x's. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to put a point right in this vicinity. And now step number 4, connect 2 points, and what you'll get is something like this. Not exactly precise, but something like this. So this is our line, 3x plus 4y equals to minus 15. And the last thing we're going to do is to use technology to draw the line, specifically when you have to find the intersection. You can obviously find the intersection by drawing things, but in IB math studies, you're expected to use technology because it's a lot faster and it's also a little bit more accurate. So let's just erase all this and do the last example where you have to find the intersection of two lines. What basically I mean by this is you have to find where two lines intersect using your graphing calculator. And this is useful for certain problems as well when we're going to be doing certain problems. So let's just do this last problem of how to find the intersection of two lines. And this is example 26 from page 403, and it says use technology to find the point of intersection of y equals 7 minus x and 2x minus 3y minus 5 equals 0. Now this line is already in the format y equals mx plus b, but this one is not. We need to rewrite this first before we can technologically graph it. So let's actually rewrite it right here. So what is it going to be? 2x minus 3y minus 5 equals 0. You need to put all your x's on all your numbers on the right side. So this will give you minus 3y equals to minus 2x. This will also change sign, plus 5. Now divide everything by 3. Minus 3. Divide everything by minus 3. And you'll get y equals 2/3 x minus 5 over 3. This you can now graph. This is actually graphable. So let's go and use our calculator. So hopefully this is a reminder and not something completely new because we have done this before. But basically here we're going to be going to y and entering two lines. One of them is very simple, 7 minus x. X is this button right here. And the second one is going to be a little bit trickier. This is, I prefer to use brackets when there is a fraction because sometimes calculator gets confused when there is brackets. 2/3 x and then minus same thing, but here you don't really have to use brackets, but I'm going to use it because I like to be consistent. 5/3. So once you click enter, you should be able to graph it. Sometimes you'll get a syntax error or some kind of other error. That's most likely because your window setting has not been reset. Basically, for this particular example, you can just go to zoom and click on zoom standard. This will give you the standard value for window, and you should see two lines intersect like this. So we have this intersection, but now we just need to find the actual number for intersection. And this, if you remember how to do this, this is basically second trace or calc. It's called calc. And right here, the number 5 is intersect. It's going to ask you first curve, and you say, yeah. Second curve, yeah. Now, should I guess? Yeah, you should guess. And it's going to give you intersection of 5.2 and 1.8. So the answer here is 5.2, 1.8. And just write it like this, 5.2, 1.8, and that's basically the answer for this problem. And essentially, this is all you need to do for this chapter, be able to graph the lines, be able to understand what the equation of the line is, and also find the intersection. If you want a bit of a challenge, try the activity on page 404, this one right here. This is with two candles that are burning at the same time, and they have an equation of the line for these two candles. And basically the question is asking you to find a bunch of things like intersection, how long the candles will burn, what's the difference in time of their burning. So this is a pretty typical line type of a problem where you have two lines that intersect and they have different slope as well. Other than that, this is it for chapter 13. We're going to be continuing this in chapter 14 in the next video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and good luck to you. Bye bye.